Hey there, Squirrel Army. How's it going? For today, we're doing a precon upgrade guide of the Simic Elven Council deck. Alright, so I've already talked about this commander and what it does and my thoughts on it. So I'm not really going to spend any time sitting here explaining what this commander does and my thoughts on it and the type of deck that I think we're trying to build with it. If you want to check out my thoughts, I'll put a button up there for you to click on the video that I made about it. It is a fairly recent video, so it's not that hard to find, even if you do want to check it out on the channel. But that's only for a more detailed guide of this specific commander. I just do it that way because it's so much easier than me spending 10 more minutes or whatever it is sitting here explaining how this commander works. So we're just going to move on. Go and check out the deck list. Alright. So here we are, deck list, the sub-commander for this deck, Geralf, Wizen Voyager. He's pretty cool. I will do a deck tech separately on him at some point, but for now, we're keeping it going. So, after having a bit of a look at this deck, apart from the new cards, which again I've only skimmed through and haven't really read to a high degree, there's not a lot of stuff that does things with voting. So it's going to be a lot of cards that you're kind of cutting to make room for more of that voting stuff. That's alright. That's alright. We're just looking at why this deck is kind of built this way. There's certainly a lot of cards that I don't agree with being in here. Especially a lot of these mana rocks. And why is Whisper Cloak in this deck, but not in the food deck, where it would actually make sense because you're almost trying to be Voltron? No clue. Again, mana base. Actually, this one's kind of 50-50. There is some really good lands in here, but they also jammed in some really bad ones. So, what? I'm confused. Maybe they just were well, this one can't be too good because it's a Simic deck, so we've got to hamper it because Simic's always really good. So, I don't know. Maybe the two-color combination just was too hard in terms of the mana base because they probably didn't want to reprint too many things that they weren't getting a huge return on. So maybe it's that. But yeah, I've come up with my mental list besides these mana rocks and stuff. I'm gonna go away, find some cards to put in the slots of the cards that I'm taking out for this, and then I'm gonna show you guys what I came up with. You can join the Squirrel Army by subscribing. Alrighty, so I've finished up the deck list here. Came to about $60 again, so pretty consistent there with the upgrades. So again, take the price with so much grains of salt. You know that reprints are gonna drop the price of cards. People don't know what these new cards do, really. They don't know how good they actually are. They don't know how much is going to be opened. So again, just take the prices with a grain of salt, because they could be much more, they could be much less. And when you like factor out basic lands, it does drop quite a bit, because most places don't charge for basic lands and things like that. But anyway, BTW, if you guys don't really want to have to go through me explaining why I put these cards in, why I cut these other cards, etc., check out the deck list in the comments below. Should be there. You can check that out, figure it out, copy paste, do whatever you want to do with it. And yeah, have a good time there. So, we've actually got a fair bit to talk about in this one. I'll quickly talk about the stuff that I removed first. Besides the ETB tap lands, a lot of the stuff I cut, I kind of felt that it wasn't on the plan of we're going to vote and we're going to do all this voting stuff. Like, there's an elf tribal sub theme, and that's fine, but we're not strictly an elf tribal deck. So, yeah. There is some other stuff like Arcane Signet, a couple other things, whatever, that I cut because I'm just like, well, we're in green, we don't need mana rocks, etc., blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I'm not really going to go through everything that's here, but you can pretty much tell that it's just stuff that isn't really on the plan of what you're trying to do. It's all in the maybe board, so if you look at the deck list, you can find. If you look at the deck list, you can find it all. I believe I added about 22 cards again. So you can see the list of cards here in the corner. Actually, there's 2 missing cards in that. I added a Nature's Law and a Farseek, just a couple of ramp spells, because I noticed that we were under 100. So I just added them, but I haven't added them to this, so it is what it is. They're not that important. I think anyone could put in Mana Dogs or some other ramp or whatever. Actually, there's a couple more cards I kind of wanted to cut, but I just couldn't find enough things besides ramp, and I didn't really want to fiddle too much. But anyway, it is what it is. I'll start with the enchantments because there's only one. Rites of Flourishing. It's a group hug card. We kind of need this type of an effect. You don't 1,000% need it, but it's pretty useful because we want to make our opponents feel like, you know, we're just playing a janky voting deck or politics deck, and we want our opponents to leave us alone and just be like, oh yeah, I might have hit you, or I might have done this, or I might have done that, but hey, I'm giving you a free card draw and land plays, and I'm giving you this, and I'm giving you that. So you're trying to mitigate people from being too aggressive or being too much like, well, just win the game or whatever. But you do need a lot of control as well to a degree, because again, if one person gets too far out of control, then you have problems reeling them back in and that sort of thing. So you really do need to keep the reins on people. Messenger Jays enters, has Council's Dilemma. People can put counters on it, or they can let you draw cards. So we obviously want the draw cards mostly, but if other people vote for counters, like, that's not that good for them either. Though obviously us drawing cards is in theory worse, but again, we're trying to play that strategy of back and forth. You give me stuff so I can give you stuff, and that sort of thing. Fate Spinner, it makes people have to choose a phase and skip that phase. So, when people want to play or draw cards and play lands, then they're like, well, I have to skip my combat, or am I going to skip my main phase and not be able to play a land, or am I going to skip my draw phase and not going to be able to draw? So, yeah, sometimes it's pretty easy choice, but honestly, again, it's one of those things sometimes that it does get some players and they go, oh, okay, well, I don't really care about it because I'm going to combo off over here and it doesn't really matter as long as I have my main phase or whatever. But you're restricting their choices, or at least of some of the players, so again, it can be quite useful. We've got a few spells here that are mostly counter magic and removal. I'm not going to spend too much time on most of those because that's what they do. They're just decent spells that help us out in our times of need. So, Collective Voyage. Nice ramp spell in a sense. Again, it's group huggy. A lot of these spells are, or these sorceries are, not all, but mostly. So again, we want people to feel like, yeah, we're helping everyone out to a degree, and we're just trying to get value off of our commander and do stuff. We're not gonna win for a while. You can leave us alone. We're just trying to get, everyone playing the game at the same level. Same with Minds Aglow. Draws us cards, well, draws everyone cards, but still, you get people drawing cards. Surely some people will want that too. So you do have to read the board state a bit with some of these spells if they require mana, which these two do. So you have to see that people actually have open mana. If you're casting it with no one with open mana, obviously you're getting nothing, really, or not enough value out of it to really matter. So, again, you need to know what you're kind of gonna get. Tempt with the Discovery is sort of like Collective Voyage in lots of ways. So, again, ramping us. And if other people search, we get to search for more lands. But again, it does balance out by helping our opponents in other ways and whatnot. So again, the temptation is very much there to be like, oh, all right, I don't want to be left behind. Steve or Alan or Jessica over there. So it is tough sometimes, but it is what it is. Temp with Reflections is a nice clone spell. Um, and again, giving people those choices is good for us. We want to do that stuff. Survival's Stampede, it is just for us, but again, it's pretty decent for us. I mean, depends what our hands like, but we'll probably say to get something from our deck rather than our hand most of the time, because for the most part, we don't have a lot of big stuff that we need to cheat into play from our hand. But if our opponents kind of do it, that's all right. We don't really mind them, helping us play 3 other things from our hand for free. If that's what they choose, silly enough. If they choose the other mode, it's way worse for them. So yeah. Plea for Power, pretty decent. Like, all of these are voting or choice cards, so people can choose what we get, but again, we will always get something, and we'll again always get, for the most part, with the Will of the Council, at least ones as well, something. So we'll always be getting something, even if our opponents don't give us really what we want. We'll still at least get something. And again, the ones that do give our opponents stuff, we don't really care, because, again, we want to ingratiate ourselves to our opponents in a sense, so that we can sort of slip below the radar and just do what we're doing. The proactive portal, either we wrath everything or we draw a card every turn, which is pretty decent. So again, I don't think our opponents particularly want us to wrath every turn, especially since we're playing that upper precon range where most people aren't really running combos, and even if they are, like, again, they don't want half of their combo to be gone or whatever else, or even all of their combo to be gone. So just letting us draw one card isn't honestly that, like, amazing compared to, well, everything that I've built for over the last few turns is gone and whatever. The orrery, lot like Rites of Flushing, people can play extra lands. And if people are essentially empty-handed, they get to draw 3 at the start of their turn. So that's alright. Again, we're doing this ingratiating group hug stuff. So, Pendant of Prosperity, we give it to an opponent, and then they can pay 2 mana and draw a card and ramp, but we also get to do that. So we just give it to the person that's furthest behind, or whoever's our most buddy in the game, and then just feed off of each other, getting stuff. So they have to pay for it. We have to pay for it initially, but still they have to pay for it every turn. But still, that's alright. Rings of Bright Hearth. there's a few abilities that we want to copy, so I thought this was well worth it. Tempting contract at our upkeep. Our opponents can trade treasures, but if they do, we get treasures. So that's pretty good. Like sometimes we won't hardly get anything off of it, but the idea here is again that people kind of need to, in a sense. And again, it's always one of those things. It's so easy in a way to get people to say, oh, all right, or whatever. And then the next person's going, well, I don't want Steve over there getting ahead of me, so I've got to take the treasures or whatever. So then it really starts to domino that everyone's taking it all the time to, do what they're trying to do to win the game and that, which really is helping us because, again, it happens at our upkeep. So that means we can use all this stuff immediately. Yeah, our opponents can, in a sense, too, if they have a lot of instants and that sort of thing. But for the most part, like, that's probably the least of our worries. So, it's fine. And that is the list of stuff that I've put in here. So yeah. Hope you guys have enjoyed this one. You guys can always let me know what you guys thought of it. Write your thoughts down there in the comments below. And hope you'll join me again for the next one.